All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. It's King Ila out here, and today I'm with no one but the legend himself, Philip Ricardo Jr. I have in the building. How you doing today, champ?
I'm good. I'm very good. Happy Sunday. Happy just everything, man. Just good to be on this. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes. Thank you very much for again, having the time, just taking and accepting the call. Like, yeah, I'll hop on this interview. It definitely means a lot to me. I'll say that. I mean, to get started with everything, right here, so the introduction, I was gonna read all your titles, but I'm like, if we do that, we're gonna be here for a good like 3 hours
Yeah.
reading all the titles you've won. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna ask. Out of all the titles you've won, which one is like meant so much to you? Like four top that meant so much to you and why?
It's tough because they all obviously I can say all of them, meant a lot. Of course, the Natural Olympia is the best of the best, and so I can say that each one of those have been memorable. Especially, I'd say 2015, 2019 were very
Yes.
memorable. 2019 was such a story for me in my life where I went through so many challenges, and then
Mm.
to be on Generation Iron and for it to be on, like documented in that documentary, and then for it to come out the way it was, that was like probably the pinnacle. But I actually really
Yes.
enjoyed the World Championships because, you know, as you've done, like you travel the world, right? You go into another
Yes.
country, you're not in your home court, right? We're the Americans, Team USA coming out to go against, sometimes Europe or wherever it is. And so when I went
Yes.
to Budapest in Italy, those two um, championships that I won, they were really memorable because it was, like I said, I felt like more of an underdog. And to come
Yes.
out
Yes.
against different athletes that we always see here in America was a big deal. So,
Wow.
between those two, those are my favorites. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Wow. That is amazing. I can definitely say going outside to compete internationally is
Yeah.
different. It's
Yes.
different. People from different part
Yes.
of the world, you get to like, oh man, I'm standing
Right.
next to this physique. So I definitely understand that physique right there. You
Yes,
know.
sir.
I mean, so you started competing at a very, very, very young and early time frame, like, back in the 90s, right? You know, I was watching your interview with Generation Iron. You were like, yeah, you used to play football. That was where you
Yeah.
started from, right? So I was
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
okay, football to bodybuilding. Like, how did you translate football to bodybuilding? What took you, into the world of bodybuilding?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like football, I grew up because my dad, like, he sat me on his lap at a young age, and we were watching the San Diego Chargers back when they were in San Diego, and that was in the '80s. And I was like, I just fell in love with it. I was playing street football in New York, just like no helmet, no pads, just sitting out there, playing street ball. And then I did Pop Warner football, and man, I loved it.
Yes.
I was all about being a wide receiver, safety, and all through high school. And I really wanted to go to college and play football. That's like my dream. Everything was football, 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 football in school. But of course, I joined the Marine Corps, like all you motivating devil dogs like myself.
Yes.
And when you get in the Marine Corps, football isn't the priority. It's like the training and the travel and everything else. So I played flag football with the Marine Corps, but that was it. It's not the same as tackle football. But then when I got
Yes.
that first show that they had, and I was stationed in Japan. And so in Iwakuni,
Yes.
Japan, they had a show on the base, and I had no idea what even bodybuilding really was. I read the magazines and stuff, but I didn't know like anything about posing, about oil and everything else you got to do. And so
Yes.
somebody just entered me into the show, and I was like, all right, now it's shy, but you know how it is. You do that first show, and then you're
Hmm.
hooked. And so
Yes.
that just was the start of it. And then I realized that, if you really want to be serious in this sport, you really can't do a lot of other extracurricular activities because it'll
Hmm.
take away from you really being focused on, the nutrition, the training. You can't be trying
Yes.
to play football and you get hurt, trying to dodge and get hit in the knees or whatever and recover in
Yes.
time to really get ready. So that transition was, it took a while, but that was easy for me to say no more of this, no more football, no more martial arts, no more whatever, whatever.
Yes.
Just all on,
Wow.
bodybuilding or nothing. Yeah.
Yes, yes. No, that is pretty interesting story. You know, one of the articles I was reading about your first bodybuilding competition, it says, you know, you didn't even shave.
Yeah. It was crazy,
You
man.
just went in there.
I just went in. I had some Speedos and they had like two different colors on it. You know, like we have to have like the one color. Mine had like
Yes,
red and black, and I'm like, man. And then
yes,
you
yes,
got the hair underneath the armpits, like thick. Stomach. I'm like, man. And I didn't know how to pose. I was doing all this twisty stuff. But
yes,
I think because my physique was already lean, I still was able to do good, and I won my
yes.
class. But then this Japanese dude, he was like professional. He's polished, right? He came out there
Mm,
shredded, and he wasn't that big, but it was just his stage presence. When I saw him, I was just in awe. Like backstage, I was
wow,
like, man, and his pose routine was on point. I was like, I want to be like that, And he was kind
wow.
of like the catalyst for me to just like, that's my goal. I knew I had a ways to go, and then I started finally really putting in the studies. And back then, there's no internet. All they had
Yes,
is magazines. We got Iron Man magazine now, and they had it back then.
yes,
And so I had to read stuff and just ask, and I had to
yes,
ask other Marines that were older and knew more about bodybuilding. And that's how I got really more into knowing what I had to do to make sure I
yes.
came prepared the next time out.
Wow. You know, and that was definitely like, you know, my next question on that. Where you started, the access to information isn't as, you know, it is right now, where I could just
Right.
go on Google, just type it and find it, right? So you say you
Yeah.
had to read magazines, you know, ask people. So how did you know, okay, for instance, if you're prepping for a competition, how did you know what I read right here is the right thing right here? Or whatever training
Honestly,
you're trying to do?
yeah, honestly, I didn't. I mean, to be honest, I'm a slow learner in everything, right? Like, for me, and you see it now, like people can turn pro like within their first couple of shows, right? It took
Yes.
me 11 years in my first show in 92 to 2003 to turn, PNBA pro. And it's because
Wow.
I really didn't know where to go. Or I didn't know, which federations, competitions were pro qualifiers and natural qualifiers, all that. And when I did things, even though I was reading and asking people, a lot of the magazine back then, they're not catered to natural bodybuilders, right? So you can
Yes.
follow all the
Yes.
crazy stuff they were doing. Some people weren't eating the cleanest foods. And so I went from either being too lean or being too big, and it's just like trial and error for me. And so
Wow.
unfortunately for me, I didn't have the right information to get me where I needed to be. And even when I did have a little bit of success, I had to find the right shows to make sure that I was set up to, be able to turn pro or get the titles or whatever it was. So
Yes. Wow. 11 years. I had to write down right here. 11 years it took you to become pro.
11
Wow.
years.
Wow.
Yes.
And,
Yeah, I came
what was
close.
that? Man, what was that journey like? What was that journey like? And when you finally had it, like, what was the
Yeah.
feeling like?
It was great. I think it was the best thing that God could have done for me because for me, the first few shows I was in Japan, it was when you're in Japan or on a base, you are limited to those type of athletes, and it was nowhere near like when you come to America and you're
Yes.
going at where you guys are at in San Diego. You've seen like the NPC shows and even the
Mm-hmm.
top INBA, PNBA shows. I didn't know anything about the ABA back then. It was ABA, so it wasn't even the
Yes.
INBA, PNBA yet. That's in 1998. Like during those times, there's guys like Michael Hearn,
Mm-hmm.
John Hansen, and
Yes.
others, and even Kyoshi and I came out around the same time. That's when, it just kind of started spinning up. But I was doing the NPC Armed Forces shows, and I did my very first Armed Forces show. I think I got like third place. And
Wow.
then I finally had a bodybuilding team like you guys had. And that's where things
Yes.
really kicked off. And we had a guy he's a Master Gunnery Sergeant, Tony Evans, and you probably
Mm.
seen him. He was one of the guys that really looked up to. Huge guy. He was our coach. Gave us like some good diets and things like that. And we had a
Yes.
team just like you have. And
Yes.
that set me up for the next year. So 1997, I did the novice Gold's Gym Classic and actually won that overall. And then I did the Armed Forces and I got second. And I was
Yes.
just finally in shape. That's when I learned. That's like 5 years after I first started, and that
Wow.
set me
Wow.
up. And the next year, I won the overall Western Armed Forces and the Gold's Gym. This is NBC, so I was like, whoa. And then that same year is when I finally met Denny and Diana Keikos and then the ABA,
Yes.
and that was a whole new level. And I'm like, oh, there's drug-free bodybuilding. And even
Mm.
then, there were some incredible athletes that I met. But when I started winning, that was the springboard to me
Yes.
being more successful, more confident, because I thought like if I'm doing this NPC, I see all these dudes, I ain't got a chance. I'm just have to do armed forces shows for the rest of my life and just have
Yes.
fun with that.
Yes.
And early on in my career, I can't lie, like the first couple of shows, like I had initial success, and then I went against some really seasoned bodybuilders, and I was kind of like a sore loser. I
Mm.
was like, man, I thought I could have beat that guy, but then I look at the pictures, like, okay, yeah, I see why I didn't win. And so
Yes.
it's like the up and down of win lose. It was very tough for me to be like, man, where am I going in this? But I still had the confidence. People
Yes.
gave me
Yes.
like the reassurance I could do well. But waiting that long after 98, 99, and everything, and finally 2003, because I was battle tested, I actually loved the sport so much. It wasn't like a heartbreaker for me anymore. I was just
Mm.
having fun competing, you know.
Yes. Yes.
And like Cy and my brother Habu, Stefan Williams, me and him, we
Hmm.
all been best friends and competing, doing all the things. We had the team. We were happy going to, like, you went to the LA Expo and going to
Yes. Yes.
Ironman, like all these. We just did
Yes.
that and we enjoyed it. It was so much fun
Yes.
that the
Yes.
winning, even though, yeah, we were out to the win, but we wanted to represent for the military. We wanted to represent for the Marine Corps. And so when he did these shows, I was happy to be on stage, win, lose, or draw. And then when I finally
Yes.
won, when I finally just like this whole year, I'm going to focus so much, 100% on my diet, because I had gotten deployed, came back in 2003, and
Yes.
things just came together. Natural Universe, I won the amateur division overall. Then I won the
Wow.
pro division, and from there
Wow.
on, that was the start.
Oh man, this is really beautiful. Like as you're talking about it, I'm just getting hype right now. I'm like, okay, I'm loving, I'm loving your journey. It's just so similar. I see why
Man.
every time you're always supporting us. Like, especially the story of your team, right? And that's one of my question back then. Being, you and I had a conversation last year when I was supposed to go to Romania, but being in the military, everything, right? One of my
Yeah.
questions to you back then was, you were active duty, competing, still winning at the very top level. Like, how were you able to, maintain all that? And again, when the disappointments come of like, oh, you're not gonna compete in this because DT calls. Like, how were you able to manage your expectations throughout all that?
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. We talked about that last year a lot.
Yes.
And, I had to make sure that for me, I was having so much fun already that I had to pick and choose my battles. And
Mm.
once you have a little success like you're having right now, the major successes as a pro,
Yes.
um, your unit will see the hard work that you're doing. And you got to make sure that you're doing your job, right? Like if you're not doing your job with the Marine Corps, don't expect special favors and stuff, because it's work first, family first, and then bodybuilding, unfortunately, but that's just the way it is, right? So
Yes.
as long as
Yes.
you can do that, and which I try to do my best at that, and I think people were motivated with the fact that, I was not using anything as an excuse, right? Like, hey, I'm going to have to go and do 25-mile ruck hikes sometimes, I'm going to have to do,
Yes.
the PFTs and CFTs and martial arts and all that stuff because that's what we are supposed to do with the requirements of the Marine Corps, right? I might have to
Yes.
deploy. I might have to go out to the field for CACs and all that stuff. During that time, people knew I was a bodybuilder, and they said, you know what? We got a grill back here because I was with the S4, the logistics guys, right? And they said,
Yes.
we got a
Yes.
grill back here. We got some chicken breast coming in. I'll make sure you have some. And that's just how it is. As long as you treat others like you want to be treated,
Mm-hmm.
and not take it like I'm somebody special because I'm a bodybuilder. I'm just a normal guy. This is just my hobby, my passion. And
Yes.
then people can see
Yes.
that. And if they ask me questions, I tell them, we can just be able to conversate about stuff. And then you
Yes.
just get those kind of reach backs where you can get and make it easy for you to compete. And so that's what happened to me, and I think
Mm.
we had opportunities. I had opportunity to guest pose on some of the military shows, and like Mike Luso out there in MCS
Yes.
Miramar, he had me come
Yes.
on, and Camp Pendleton. So these things just started happening, and I think it's just great that because I had the good attitude and wanted just to have fun with it and talk to
Hmm.
people about it, and they could see the passion coming from me, that it just led to great things, and so I was able to do it no matter what the situation was.
Yes, yes. Wow. Thank you very much for sharing that. I mean, yes, you're absolutely right. Especially the part, where you place so much humility in this way. Like, I'm a bodybuilder, but that doesn't mean I treat everyone like they're below me or beneath me. And one of the
Yes.
story Sai used to tell us on the team was how he met you back in in Okinawa.
Yeah, Okinawa,
you
yeah.
know, he
He's like,
was
who's
like, you
that
had your
dude?
clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can please tell us, about that, and like how again that played into your career moving forward from that point.
Yeah, it was funny because, like I said, I had a lot of opportunities because of my success. As a Marine, I'm still doing the competitions. I won the Natural Olympia while I was in the Marine Corps, Natural
Wow,
Universe a couple of times while I was in the Marine Corps. And
wow,
so, they did like articles and stuff for the, Marine Corps Times and
yes,
other, periodicals and stuff. And so then I got asked because Master Gunnery Sergeant Morris, Glenn Morris,
hmm
Big Mo, he's out in Okinawa and he became a contractor after he retired. And he's like, hey, I'm going to invite you to come out because he's our coach here at Camp Pendleton, or where you guys are
yes,
at. And he said,
yes,
I'm going to fly you out to be a guest poser for the show. And of course, it was people like Cy, even Tommy Thompson were out there. They were ruling, the Far East classic shows and stuff. And
yes,
so,
yes,
I come out there and I'm just like, I'm just grateful for every single opportunity I've gotten. I just feel blessed because, like I said, I see all of us work hard. I don't feel like
hmm
I train any harder, diet any harder than anybody else. It's just one of those things that God gave me a gift to do this, and I'm gonna take every opportunity. So I got the opportunity to go to Okinawa, and I saw Cy there, Tommy Thompson, all those dudes, and the same thing. Like we're backstage pumping up and things like that, and then you could tell like because he's the champ. Cy was the champ out
yes,
there, and I know you're talking and about to pump up, and I could tell like he's just saying about the stuff that he's done, and I'm like, okay, cool, and I'm
yes,
just smiling and just I just want to go out and have fun and do the guest posing and do my routine and stuff. So, but I could
yes,
tell that we earn each other's respect. But I know he was telling me he was like he ain't see anything special about me because I'm not a big dude. I'm 5'9", maybe
yes,
185
yes,
back then on stage. And I'm
yes,
just blessed with the like I said, whatever I was able to put together to bring to the stage, and it was a great
yes,
time, great routine. People loved it. And then Cy and myself and Tommy and all of us just became friends and just respect. It's always about
yes.
respect.
No, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. When he was trying to explain your physique to us, like, man, he's never seen anyone that has such, definition everywhere. And, again, he was like, yeah, I can take him out. But he was like, when you take off your shirt, I was like, what? You know,
When he
you
told me that too
know,
later on, I was like, "Oh, you funny, man. Yeah, you killing me."
but that is so incredible, right? Because I had to, who is this Philip Ricardo? Let me check. And I was like, oh man. Okay, I started
uh,
watching your posing routine, the Superman routine, everything is so beautiful. And even in 2022, the Natural Olympia, seeing you on stage, competing, your routine, everything, I was like, I'm glad to have witnessed that in person, right? Like everything was
yes.
just so beautiful, it was just so amazing. So speaking on that, like, this year's right now, are you like actively competing, retire, or taking a break right now? Because we your fans will still want to see you on stage at some point.
Yeah, yeah. Well, to be honest with you, and I'm enjoying, kind of like the semi-retirement. But you looking at all these guys coming out now, like Michael Waddington, like me and him competed against each other. He's now the Natural
Yes,
Olympia champion. Back in the
yes,
day, we competed against each other 2010 and 2015 Natural Olympia. So seeing him back and having the success that he had last year,
mm-hmm.
and then you still see the guys like Tamer, Chris Jans, like the whole
Yes,
family, all the Wolf Pack, the 50s and above. They're
yes,
still out there
yes,
representing. For me, it's harder too because of the success I had. I don't want to come in with a less package than what I was able to put forth
mm,
during my good years.
yes,
However, I still enjoy it, right? So I train like I'm going to compete. I still train just as hard, maybe even more. I've also got a lot of clients that I'm training as well, which takes a lot of time. And this isn't even my
yes,
full time job.
yes,
I got a contractor job with the supporting the government. So with all that going on, it's tough to like focus like I used to.
mm-hmm.
But I do want to have fun. And then this year, God willing, Ken Ross, the ambassador himself from New Zealand,
Yes,
Australia, New
yes.
Zealand. He's got his show in August, so he invited me and the wife to come out there for me to be a guest poser. So if I got
Wow,
to be in
wow.
shape for that, I was actually thinking of competing, around that time as well.
Yes.
So we'll see how that goes. It may not happen because my wife's Korean, so we're
Hmm.
planning on going with her family, the whole family to Korea to, because her parents getting older to
Yes.
to see
Yes.
their family there. So if that happens, it's going to throw things off. So I don't see myself being able to be doing anything like the Natural Olympia or Universe or something. But
Oh
I
man.
think just seeing how the guest posing works, if things go well with the way I
Hmm.
look and I feel happy, if not this year, I'll definitely push something in the next couple of years to come back on stage for sure.
Yes, yes. Wow, that is beautiful. Yes, I was there in New Zealand last year, and I think last year
Yes.
was Kiyoshi that did the guest posing.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
It
Yes.
was amazing. So, oh yeah, New
Yes.
Zealand is a
Samurai. Samurai.
oh.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
video of that when he did that routine in at the Olympia 2022.
Yes.
It was
Beautiful.
amazing, right? So
Yes.
I mean,
Beautiful.
your show, so being natural, right? I mean, when you started your natural bodybuilding career, it was at the era where substance abuse was at its prime, then. And my question for you is like, what inspired you to stay natural throughout the whole course? Like, what was the reason or the purpose behind going natural without falling to any of those temptations back then or whatnot?
Well, to me, for me, honestly, I grew up very shy, very poor. I saw my family like struggle, my mom and my dad, and they passed away a few years ago. But they struggled a lot with alcohol and drug use and stuff like that. Even my brother passed away for the same thing. And so drugs for me, I didn't want to be like that. I guess you have two ways to go. Either you're gonna follow the same cycle of what your family or your parents have done, or you can create your own kind of legacy. And I
Yes.
wanted to do that. And not to say that I'm perfect by any means, because I still followed some of the, bad traits in other areas of life, which I'm,
Hmm.
always praying to God to correct me of those deficiencies and stuff. But
Yes.
um because of that, I definitely didn't want to abuse or get sucked into being an alcoholic or taking drugs of any kind, smoking marijuana, none of that stuff.
Yes.
And as a Marine, I traveled and we did drink, but I made sure not to be like where I had to have a bottle of alcohol on my thing every time and use that as a.
Hmm.
It's a more of like social drinking thing. When now I don't drink at all, but like I said, drugs was not a thing. I just thought naively, I thought I can do it naturally. And after the first show, because I had a little bit of success and I saw my physique, I just
Yes.
kept in my head for some reason I could do it without. And even when I
Mm.
was doing the NPC shows, I was looking at these guys and they were a little bit, bigger, thicker, denser, and more
Yes.
conditioned. But I still thought I had the chance to like beat them. I felt like I could train and get that way. And it wasn't until I did like tougher shows that I saw like, hey, you're gonna have to do something. Even people were telling, like even some of the judges from the NPC, like,
Hmm.
you're gonna have to do if you want to become a national qualifier and IFBB pro, you gotta do this.
Mm.
But by the grace of God, like I said, I did the ABA show, IMBA show
Yes.
with Denny Kakos, and I saw that. And when I saw the way they treated the natural athletes and the trophies back then, they had the big old gold, trophy for the overall winner, and just like,
Yes.
I was like,
Yes.
wow, and the way his passion, him and Diana's passion, Denny and Diana,
Hmm.
I felt like this was my new family. And I
Yes.
just thought I can just do it with them. And there's other federations too I was trying out. They had Muscle Mania back then, and they were like on ESPN. And I thought
Wow.
that they were going to be something big because back then they were trying, right? They
Yes.
had,
Yes.
it's all about when you do this, you want fame. I hate to say it's kind of like an
Hmm.
egotistical. That's how it was. I
Yes.
was like, I want to get noticed. And
Yes.
so any way I can be like on ESPN or a magazine or a poster, I was trying to look for that. I was trying to put myself out there
Yes.
and I didn't want to put myself out there using drugs because I knew, the consequences of those after I saw what I saw in the NPC, and
Yes.
because Denny and Diana were giving us an avenue without having to do that. And then I saw the physiques and some of the athletes they had. I mean, Kyoshi, right? Me and Kyoshi at the same time.
Yes.
And I saw that guy. I was like, wow, that's possible naturally. And then we went to the natural universe that year, and there's guys, this guy named Keith Bullock and John Hansen, and I said Michael
Yes.
Hearn was competing during that time too. Like I'm seeing all these guys, and that was an eye opener that you don't need to compete in the NPC if you want to go against some quality athletes. And I
Yes.
continued on with that, and you have the opportunity to turn pro naturally. When I had that opportunity, there was no reason to go anywhere else.
Wow, wow, that is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I think definitely being around the right, being in that community itself plays a role. Like you said,
Yes.
when you look at some, because same thing with me. I mean, look at some people like, wait a minute, I'm gonna compete. Natural, okay, let's go, let's go, right? And
Yes.
speaking of like, here you are, you run your own show right now. You're gonna be hosting us in April pretty soon. And I just want to
Yeah.
go back on the little bit of history for me personally. Um, I've competed before, joining the IMBA or competing with IMBA. My first competition was in Okinawa. It wasn't the Far East. It was an MPCJ. MPCJ.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
my first competition, right?
Wow.
And
Mm-hmm.
then after that, the next one was the one in the Far East bodybuilding. That, and then I came to North Carolina. I competed with NPC. Those
Wow.
those were my journey before the IMBA, right?
Yeah.
And I remember the last competition I did. Okay, yes, the last one I did was natural. It says natural NPC, but
Yeah. You know how natural it is, right?
you know what I'm saying? But
Right,
I was
right.
there, I was
Yeah.
backstage, and for me personally, it's like, okay, like you said, right? Being a bodybuilder is there. You work so hard to get on stage. You lift this, that, and I was backstage, man. I was like, this is unbelievable. How am I ever gonna catch up to these guys right here?
Yes. Yes,
It
yes.
was discouraging, right? And then
Yes.
when I met Sai, he told me about IMBA and he told me about your show in particular. Like, oh, you're in North Carolina, you can do the show right
Right
here.
down the street, yep.
Yes. And in 2020, yeah, 2021, right? No, 2022, that was when I did it,
Yes,
did the
22,
show,
yep.
right? And I'll tell you this, when I did that show, for the very first time. Like, you say something about, the INBA it said family. It felt like family. And your show was the gateway for me to this great family, to this global family that we have right here,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
And the way you organize it and just seeing that, oh, this is what natural
Yeah.
looks like, right? It's like, okay, I have a place in here,
Yes.
So I want to say thank you very much for that. So now,
Yeah.
being an organizer of a show, putting this together, celebrating your 10-year anniversary, can you just walk us through the journey of, putting this together from the very first show to now?
Yeah, I tell you, it's not easy because, and as you can already attest, like being an athlete is different when you can just kind of focus on yourself, right? You
Yes.
get the mind of like, I got to do this, get on stage, and it's really focusing on me and what I can do to be the best. But now I'm turning my attention on how do I make the athletes, enjoy the show? How do I make sure that they have, they get compensated in some way or rewarded for the hard work? Like what I wanted from a show, how do I project that to everybody else?
Wow.
And to be honest with you, when I first started, because I was stationed obviously in California for the majority of my career,
Yes.
retired in 2011. Then I got a job here in Virginia and been out here ever since. But out here, there's a lot of nice natural federations. You got the OCB, NGA, some WMBF, IP, like all of this everywhere.
Yes.
But I know in my loyalty to the INBA, PNBA that I have them as my family, and not knocking the other federations at all.
Yes.
I coach some people and they may compete somewhere else, no problem, because I have a lot of friends from all the federations. In fact, I did an interview with my boy Sean Sullivan from the OCB.
Yes.
Great guy. He's the one that invited me out to another undisclosed place at guest pose. But we're still friends, and I'll do anything for him and vice versa. But I knew that I wanted to have the presence of the INBA out here. There was no shows,
Wow.
zero
Wow.
on the East Coast.
Wow.
So I said to them, "Hey, I'm out here, and I'm going to keep competing with y'all and this and that because I kept flying back out to do the Natural Olympia year after year or the Universal whatever. But I said, there's no shows here. And so how am I going to let the people know that there's other avenues that they can do the Natural Olympia, which is the best of the best, biggest world championship there is in natural bodybuilding. And that's
Yes.
the truth, right? And so
Yes.
he said, well, if you promote, then we'll make it happen. I was like, promote?
Mm. Wow.
Like, yeah. And so it's very scary. And to be honest with you, I don't do the same type of legwork that Denny and Diana do, obviously. They
Mm-hmm.
still come out here. they're the ones that set everything up, and they kind of like, get things. Diane is like the MC, the top
Yes.
MC. Come out here,
Yes.
run the show. For me, it's more about getting the sponsors, getting the athletes, to know where it's going to be, get the host hotel, registration, and all those things. So that is something I had to learn over time. And in 2014, I had the very first show. Now in 2024,
Hmm.
that 2014
Yes.
was, it was good because people knew who I was. Luckily for me, and I
Hmm.
had a lot of other people that I just teamed up with that even were part of other federations, but we were such good friends, and they assisted me. They helped me
Yes.
out. Said, "Hey, I'll sponsor and I'll help you out with this. We'll have a posing seminar, and get some more of the people so the athletes from this area would do your show." There was no
Yes.
animosity or anything like that. And that first show was unbelievable. We had like, having, to me, like a great thing is like the physically challenged and the
Yes.
children, right? The
Yes.
kids in physically challenged is something that a lot of federations don't. They never had them. They starting to have it now. Back
Yes.
then, no one had it. So I had a physically challenged guy that came out from Pakistan, and
Wow.
then I had this
Wow.
one guy who lost his leg. His story was so moving, Daniel
Hmm.
Strong,
Yes.
and he had the most unbelievable physique naturally, and
Wow.
he did
Wow.
my show. He had everybody crying because his leg was, but he was so good. He even won the open class.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
But
Wow.
so and then he ended up qualifying for the Natural Olympian. I think he got like top seven or something. That's how
Yes.
good he was. Yeah.
That
So, but
man.
anyway, that show was just so incredible for the first show. Like I said, big respect and thanks to the Keiko's family for helping out because I couldn't have done it by myself. But
Yes.
just being able to get that first show and seeing what it developed to be, because I was a nervous wreck setting it up. I
Mm.
mean, I didn't know what I was doing. It's a lot of work,
Yes.
but at the end of the day, just having people on your side, you can't be an island. Like you can't do anything for me at least on my own. I have so much help, and now it's great that I have like Chris Moore out here, Brandon Lirio, and others that we can kind of combine. And we got Monica Steiner. All of us
Yes.
help each other out nowadays. So back then it was pretty much me trying to get things together. That first show went off beautifully. The second show, etc. I think the second year, many of the same people. I even had my kids competing in the show. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
Wow.
getting the kids physically challenged and showing that
Yes.
aspect of what the INBA, PNBA has,
Hmm.
that really helped to launch a successful, show here on the East Coast. And then,
Yes.
like I said, Brandon Leary got his together. Tanya Penalosa did a couple for a while. Mark Torriello did a couple for a while. Some people have spawned off to other things, but I somehow just kept on trucking because
Wow.
for me, when I started this thing, I didn't know how long I was going to want to do it because it's a lot of hard work and I got other things going on. But every
Yes.
time says, "Hey, I'm doing your show next year," I don't want to disappoint. So I gotta, I
Mm.
gotta keep the ball
Yes.
rolling. Like if people are like hit
Yes.
me up, like I want to do your show, I'm gonna do your show. I just can't wait to do your show. So here we are 10 years later
Wow,
and
wow,
still
that
going
is
strong,
beautiful. That is beautiful. And I'll tell you this, every time it just keeps getting better because 2022 and 2023 it was just a lot more better. Wow, this is
Yes,
this is huge. A lot of us were there and now I can
yes.
imagine celebrating 10 years. I know it's so much out there for us athletes. Because if there's anything I'll tell everyone or anyone watching this is he does take care of the athletes. As an
Yes, he does.
amateur, I have so much goodies.
Oh, you swept the show, brother. You came out there like you had a good class, and you came out
Yes,
there
yes,
dominated. You came back with
yes,
sword and all type of stuff and goodies, and
yes,
then you do your very first pro show at my show and get your
yes,
pro title there, and that was a tough one
yes.
too because like I had one of my other boys, like he's legit, like he's a pro. He did a pro in another federation and like the top three in the world, and you
Wow,
end up taking him out. So that
wow,
just shows where
wow.
you're at. So yeah,
Yes,
you've arrived in
wow.
a quick way, and I'm glad that you've had that success at my show, and hopefully you get a two-peat pro class victory at my show, and three-peat
Yes.
overall, just wins,
Oh, yes,
because you definitely had that physique, and yeah, that's what it's all about, making sure the
yes.
athletes are taken care of.
Yes, yes, that is beautiful. I mean, even when you were talking about, the category of like the physically challenged and
Yeah,
everything, that is one thing I definitely, for me, I would say I love about, not just this natural bodybuilding, but the organization is, for us, we call it bodybuilding with a purpose.
yeah,
Everyone can just go out there, do it, whatever they want to, but there is a reason and a purpose why someone is stepping on stage, right? And the
Amen.
fact that you respect that at your shows, that definitely speak a lot and incredible about what we're going to be expecting for the 10-year anniversary. I mean, if you can even give us a sneak peek of what, we the athletes will be expecting at this, like this 10-year anniversary celebration. Just a
Well,
sneak peek, not everything.
the only sneak peek is I'm still talking to Diana Keikos about it. Besides,
Yes.
of course, the sponsors, um, we want to have a special award for the 10-year. We
Mm,
haven't thought about it yet. We're coming up with some ideas. So I don't want to give too much away, but
okay.
we are going to have some special awards for a 10-year anniversary that we haven't done before. And
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
so Diana's helping me out with a few ideas that we have, and one, two, or three or more of those ideas might come into fruition at the show.
Okay.
Um, but one thing I can say too is because it is the 10-year, besides the top pros like yourself being there, I've got some surprise athletes that are coming from overseas that are going to come out and
Ooh.
compete. So that to me always makes it special. And
Yes.
just like we had Ken Ross last year, and you
Mm-hmm.
saw him coming out, and I had Chris Kellenberg who did awesome this year at the World Cup and the Natural Olympia.
Yes. Yes.
It's always good to get those guys that come out that are major champions coming from other countries, just because they want to
Yes.
be on this stage, and it's humbling and an honor, to me that someone thinks highly enough to come and travel to do the show, and I try to do my best to take care of people like that. I always love taking care of you Marines, like when you guys came out full force last year. That was the best, and I wish I
Yes.
could have did more for y'all because you guys brought that whole team, got an Airbnb, to just kind of get ready. And then y'all
Yes.
rock the house everywhere y'all go. And you rock the house at that show and my show last year,
Yes.
2023. So I'm looking forward to, you bringing it home again at 2024.
Yes, yes. No, thank you very much. Yes, I remember 2021. I still talk to him, Matt Dion, from
Yeah,
Brazil.
yeah.
Yeah, I still talk
Yeah,
to him.
Brazil. Yeah,
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 he was there, and that was,
yeah.
again, like I said,
Yeah.
your show for me was the gateway of like, okay, this is the standard right here. This is
Yeah.
what it is. All right,
Yeah.
let's go. And I do appreciate you for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, thank you for this sneak peek because guess what? My prep just went up.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, it did.
okay. I'm stepping. I mean, I'm bringing the super A game for this show, man. you
I
know,
know you will. I know you
but no, thank you very much for this, right? So now let's switch it back a little bit to where you are right now. An organizer, a coach, a promoter, everything. Like you said, you find so much joy. Us. I call it the OG. You the OG with the young G, right? So it's
Yes,
like
yes.
where do you see the sport of natural bodybuilding heading to, especially for us, starting our career fresh into this? Like, what are some pointers, some advice you could give to us, young G coming up into this organization and this sport?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Mm.
For me, I know when I was coming up, the main thing that I think helped me to be where I'm at in my career was putting myself out there. And that is
Mm.
what I enjoy right now with you, the Marine team. Like you guys
Yes.
are out everywhere. That is very important. You want to be seen. You want to make sure that you're testing yourself in any way possible because just like anything, right? Like the more you put stress and testimonies, I mean, tests against something, it's going to make
Yes.
you stronger, right? So iron
Yes.
sharpens iron. Like the more tension you put on, the stronger you get. And so that's what you guys are getting. That's what I got when I was competing. I kept going around to every single thing to see like where can I, go against the best to see where I'm at and what do I need to work on. So as a young competitor, keep
Hmm.
doing that. Don't be afraid of nothing. You
Yes.
will be surprised how good you are, and you'll be surprised how much you can grow by going against the best. I think a
Yes.
lot of people they take either too much time off. They do a couple of shows and maybe they'll get
Hmm.
disappointed, and then like, okay, well, I need to do this and grow. And there's nah, keep putting yourself out. I rarely took a lot of time off unless just like you've experienced, unless the
Yes.
Marine Corps told me I couldn't do it, right? Because of work.
Yes.
So keep
Yes.
going. You're always going to improve because, especially natural muscle
Hmm.
maturity is going to be the key for your future, right? So the
Mm.
more you keep going and you keep kind of just working out that, young body fat you got in you, right? So next
Yes,
thing you know,
yes,
you're gonna come out looking like lean, but then you put on a little more dense muscularity as you get older, and that's gonna be the
yes,
way to go, you know. So that would be the advice, is to keep putting yourself out there. I feel right now, because even when I saw last year's Natural Olympia, like you were there, like classic
yes.
physique had
Oh
like
man.
30 crazy guys from all over the league. Like the amateur guys came up,
Yes,
and they, so
yes,
when I saw that, I'm like, natural bodybuilding, man, is here to stay. It's gonna keep on
yes,
growing. The only thing I can hope for is that, the INBA, PNBA continues to, help, award the athletes for the hard work by, the prizes and things like that, and
yes,
qualifications. And I know that they're trying to change some things up now so that we have more quality when we go to the bigger shows like the Natural Olympia, World Championships, Universe, all those.
yes,
So just keep on going and enjoy the process. The thing is, if you don't have a passion to enjoy doing the crazy stuff we have to do to get in shape, as far as like, the diets, the cardio, the posing,
yes,
if you don't enjoy that, you're not going to stick around for a long time. You're not going to keep doing it as long as I've been doing it, and Ken Ross and Eric
yes,
Lipton and all those guys are doing it. So you and your team having so much fun like they do, and you got a great mentor inside. He's gonna
yes,
get you to keep on going, and be the OG in the future, and know where you
yes.
came from. Like I know where I came from, right? I know I had to look up
Mm-hmm.
to the OGs that got me to where I am, and now I'm very blessed to still be alive to do the same thing. I love giving back, and
Yes, yes.
I'm a lot tired, more tired than I was back when I was younger and could run around and do all these things. But I'm still
Yes,
doing my best to give back, and I can see that the natural bodybuilding world is not going away. I'm hoping that they can do some more, documentaries, and that Iron Man magazine continues to put out the magazine to show,
yes.
that natural bodybuilders, like the new people, right? You got some
Mm-hmm.
OGs are making the covers and stuff. Now maybe get the younger guys that are coming up and have it keep
Yes,
rolling. And then that'll just make it so that people see like, oh wow, natural bodybuilding's got this, and that,
yes,
especially the INBA, PNBA.
yes,
And I feel like you traveling to New Zealand and traveling to, almost went to Romania and all these other
yes.
countries, when people all overseas know who you are, there's nothing
Yeah.
better than that, right? No matter where you go, people are gonna
Wow.
know who you are. That's like the best feeling, And
Yes,
not knowing
yes.
it, knowing who you are in a prideful way. It's knowing who you are, that you're family, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that no matter where you go, it's like, Eli, you coming out here? We got you,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And then when they come out to here to America, we got you.
yes,
I have a story
yes.
like with Adrian Portray. When I came out to California, he hooked me up at his place, and he didn't have nothing. This is when he first came, before he got, as popular and as he
Wow.
and successful he is
Wow.
now. And that's
Yeah.
just how things go. And when Ken came out here, we hooked him up with his hotel and place to stay and stuff like that. That's that collaboration that will just
Yes.
lead to, you can do anything in this world if you got good connections and you make family, and treat people with respect.
Yes, wow, wow. Thank you very much for that. I feel so inspired hearing this, and like knowledge is received, like wisdom is passed, man. I'll tell you that, I mean, for me, especially this year, I mean, that my own personal goal is to at least compete 3 international, competitions this year, and like you said,
Nice.
just the international connection, the family. Like last year, Ken took care of us when we were in New Zealand. Like he
Yes.
did an amazing job taking care
Always
of
does.
us. Oh my
Hmm.
goodness. Like, yeah, what he definitely said I was gonna treat you guys like kings and queens, and he sure did.
Yeah, Ken is
Wow.
Ken is a one of a kind man. I'm telling you, he's
Yes,
top
yes.
notch. Such a good dude.
Yes. Yes. No, thank you very much for this, man. I really want to keep asking you a lot of questions, but because of the time limit we have right here, I'll just ask this right here.
Yeah.
Looking over your bodybuilding career, looking over everything, all the major accomplishments, everything you've done. If you would go back right now to, to advise young Philip Ricardo before, he went on stage without shaving, wearing Speedos, what would that advice be?
Oh my goodness, that's a tough one. Because to be honest, I feel like everything happens for a reason, right? So
Mm,
if I didn't go through the trials that and mistakes that I made, maybe I wouldn't be the person that I am today. So it's hard to go back and say I changed anything, even though I did think about those things,
Yes.
probably in my younger years, like, man, if I had done this or if I had done that, man, I think for me, if I could go back, I think I would have. Whew, man, it's hard. That's a really hard question because
I know.
I've been so blessed my whole career that it's hard to
Wow.
say like I would change anything. Um, I feel like I probably could have done more about learning about the federation. I wish I would like have
Mm.
hung out more with Denny and Diana Keikos instead of being um, focused more on just being the athlete and
Yes.
you know what I mean.
Yes. Yes.
I was really maybe more worried about me, even though when I meet everybody and the shows are going on, like we're family, good to go. But to be at the top level, you kind
Yes.
of have to be self-centered and selfish in
Mm.
certain ways, right? So when
Yes.
showtime was coming up, I was like so laser focused until I got to the show, then things changed. But I wish I had spent more time with them so I can learn more about how they got stuff together,
Mm.
and also be around more of the shows. Because I did like the Team USA's, the Natural Universe, Olympia, World Championships, but
Yes.
they had so many other things going on that I would have loved to have been more involved with that. But the Marine Corps kind of, put a damper in
Yes.
that too. But I could have
Yes.
been
Yes.
out there being more judging shows, this and that. It didn't happen until later on after I retired until I got involved with that. So the younger me could have been more involved quicker, I think.
Wow, wow, man. Thank you very much for that. I sincerely enjoyed this interview right here, this conversation, actually. Thank you
Yeah,
very
me
much for
too.
your time.
My pleasure,
I,
brother. Thank you. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. I hope, we'll do this again sometime soon, but thank you
Oh
very
yeah.
much for your time today.
All right. All right.
Uh,
We'll do a part two. It's all good.
oh, absolutely.